I'm so excited for today because we have Diera Story here. And you guys listen to me, ladies who are listening, who are single moms, okay, or going through a divorce or going through just that hard time out of a toxic relationship. Something hasn't served you, and you are trying to get it to the other side of this. Diera Story. Look, I'm getting goosebumps. I love this. Say hi,
Aw.
Diera.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me, Jackie. I'm so excited to talk with you.
You're a light. I'm a very
Mm.
like I was attracted. Like as soon as I met you, we were together in a business program that I absolutely loved. You loved it too, right, Dara?
Oh, changed my life. Brought me to you.
100%. I feel like, your energy, it was just so authentic.
Mm.
And it was just very like, it's just light. I'm very much about that we have so much light in this world to offer. Like I'm always attracted to that. People that are really fearlessly authentic. And when I heard your podcast, Mama Fire, okay, you guys, like seriously write that down. And you said about your daughter. Okay, you have to tell everybody about your daughter because I like that. Like I was like, shut up. This is everything. Like, so go ahead,
I
tell
love
us.
that you're starting here. Yes, my 3-year-old rebel, she is my entire world. And honestly, having her, you talk about authenticity. I really believe that before she came into the world, I was living a life that was completely out of alignment. I was so disconnected from who I truly was inside because I had been doing all of the things that I thought I needed to do, all the things that you're told from a very young age, go to a good school, find a good man, get married, have a family, get a house, get a car, like all of those things I was checking off the list, not even realizing that that's what I was doing because it
Right.
was so unconscious. And until the point when I had my daughter, and it was this initiation moment of you need to spend some time and you're basically forced to spend time with yourself, especially because I had stepped away from my career at that point. I was a full-time mom. And it's just, during the day, it was just me and her. It was just me and my baby. So you are thinking through all the things. It
I
is
love
an
it.
internal mind game at that point. And so she really brought me forward
Mm.
into the person I am today. And without her, I have no idea where I would be at this moment. So
Oh
yeah,
my
thank you for
gosh, I
bringing her up.
love that. And by the way, just to be clear, her child's name is Rebel. Like because you're like, oh yeah, my the way you said it is like my 3-year-old Rebel. I was like, she maybe she's rebellious too, but her name is actually Rebel. I'm like,
Yes, yes. My daughter's name is Rebel. I have a unique name. And while I resisted it growing up, because I think as a kid, you so desperately want to belong. You like strive for that. And I absolutely did. I wanted to belong. And I think because this may sound silly, but because my name was different, I felt a little bit like an outsider in that way. And as I have grown and evolved and really accepted and loved that part of myself and just owned the fact that our differences are what makes us unique. That's what makes us beautiful. If we all were exactly the same, that would be such a boring world. So
yeah.
when I was thinking through like what name she was going to have, it had to be something strong. It had to be something powerful. And I really wanted it to be something that she could stand tall in and know from day one that her differences are what makes her special, and to celebrate that and to lean into that and to not be afraid to be different the way that I was as a child. So yeah, her name carries a lot of meaning for me.
Oh, I love that. So I got goosebumps as you're saying this because like I feel that this message needs to be said from day one in kids' lives. And I feel like we're so programmed to like be on freaking autopilot, do all this shit, like, oh, and go and all this pressure of like what you need to do and fit that mold and get married by this and have kids by this age and do, go to the school, all the things. And I feel like from day one, you know, I've been telling I have two daughters, and I'm like, it's all I care about. Like, seriously, is about you shining your beautiful, authentic light. And it could be messy as hell, and it's beautiful and amazing. And like, the more they can just look in the mirror and be proud of who they are, different and all. Like, I love that you're like, day one, your name's Rebel. I'm like, yes, don't go with the grain. Do not go with the
Yeah.
grain. Be you.
Yes. Yes, no
That's
one
strong.
teaches us this stuff.
Yeah.
You learn from such an early age to memorize and obey and stand in line and conform, and and that just builds such a disconnect and separation between, because you think you have to do all of these things a certain way, and if you stand out, if you ask too many questions, you're sort of exiled for it. And so, yeah, that's just been so important for me. I mean, it took me over 30 years to get to the place I'm in now, where I realize the most important thing that I can do for myself is love and accept all of me and be proud of the person that I am, and to stop trying to be like everybody else and to fit in and to especially conform into that little tiny box that society tells us is beautiful, is smart, is lovable, all of those things. And how can you be you ultimately? So,
Totally, totally.
yeah.
And it really requires so much courage. I feel like, you
Mm.
know, I do hear so often so many women staying in relationships and marriages because they have a kid and they feel like they have to and they should. So like,
Yeah.
what do you have to say, like, in terms of like your experience and really like walking away, or I don't know how that happened, like what you want to
Yeah.
share, but we would love to hear it for sure.
Yeah, yeah. The more time I've spent really thinking through exactly what brought me to this place, I had been feeling a disconnect for a long time. I think my partner and I, I'll only speak for myself, but that it was a mutual feeling. And because that programming, that conditioning that we talked about runs so deep, I had formed so many unconscious behaviors in my life that the way that I was really feeling was pushed so far down. It was buried so deep below the surface that I was just moving through the motions. It was like, this is just what you do. You get married, you have kids, you get a house, and this is life, until I had become a mom and I really spent the time to sit with, am I happy? Is this it for me? Is this what I really want? And when I really started asking those questions, my answers were pretty messy. And I was basically projected into this phase that was like all over the place. It came out because I had been abandoning myself for so long
Mm.
and just doing all the things that I was supposed to be doing. When I started asking questions, I lacked the language to even express how I was feeling, because I hadn't asked myself those questions before. So the things that were coming out of my mouth were so all over the place. And I know that it was a challenging time for anybody that was close to me, because it was like I was fumbling through my life for the first time, but I was also stepping into and uncovering who I really was. So
Wow.
ultimately, yeah, I started questioning my relationship. We had been together for 13 years. I
Wow.
met him when I was 22 years old. And, funny story, he moved into my house. He was my roommate. That's how we met. So
Okay.
we went from 0 to 100 day one. Like,
Yeah.
let's get
Wow.
serious immediately. We had no dating phase and we fell in
Mm.
love right away. But I was 22 years old. And of course, you can grow with people. But I
Mm.
think over time, we just grew in different directions. And
Yeah.
once I really, really I started asking myself those tough questions, the truth started coming to the surface. And ultimately we both decided that it was time to part ways, and it wasn't an easy decision. Like I said, it was super messy. And as you mentioned, that feeling, that guilt as a mom of,
Mm.
do I stay together for the kids or do I choose myself? I bounced back and forth between that a million times. And, I even watched, my parents are still together. I watched their relationship, essentially, like, there were so many challenges there, and they stayed together for the kids. And I saw while I have a ton of gratitude for that because it kept our family unit together, I think that there was a lot of unhappy moments for them. And so that was, a model for me as well of, is that really what I want for myself? And also, what am I showing my child? Am I showing my child that you abandon yourself because that's what is the easier path? And I ultimately came to the decision of, I'm going to choose myself. And this may
Yeah.
be hard for everybody for a while. And I want her to know one day, though, when she looks back and we have that conversation of, because of course it's going to come up at some point. And I can, really confidently tell her that I chose myself, and I would want the exact same thing for you. I would never want you to stay in a relationship just because you think you should and because you
Yeah.
think you'll be letting other people down. It's not about letting other people down. That's going to happen regardless. It's
Yeah.
inevitable. That's a factor of life, but don't let yourself down.
100 million. I love it. I so support this, and this message needs to be heard from so many women, because I do talk and work with a lot of single moms and women in relationships, like in it. They're like actually in it, and they're like, well, for the kids. And I'm like, wait a second. Like this is something that I truly feel is, as long as you as a mother, right, your light is shining. And I feel like when you choose a partner or you settle, sometimes you're like, and that your light is getting dim with somebody, I feel like they're seeing it, they're feeling that. And they're
Yeah.
going to say, well, I guess that's okay. And as much as, you wouldn't want them to just repeat it, but whatever they see, they're going to end up like being like, okay, well, they're going to be in a situation older, and they're like, this is okay. My mom did it. My mom tolerated this. And, she put aside her own happiness. And it's like, fuck no, guys. I'm like, wait, listen, hell to the no. And I love
Yes.
your courage.
Mm,
I have so much goosebumps talking to you, Diera, because it takes so much courage. And I want to normalize this. Like, I want it to be
yes.
like, hell yeah. You know what? You dug in deep. You weren't just going on autopilot. You weren't gonna
Yeah.
just do what everyone else wants you to do. And
Yeah.
that is freaking hard to do. Like, it takes bravery to be like, okay, guys, yeah, I know that you want me to do all these things, and I'm gonna walk this way. And you're like, what? How did
Yeah.
your parents react actually to that? How did they take that?
Mm. It was rough. It was rough. I remember one moment, I'm really close with my dad. I've been daddy's little girl my
Yeah.
whole life.
Guilty,
And
same.
yes, all the daddy's girls out there. Yeah, that bond, that relationship is so beautiful. And I remember one moment him saying to me, I don't even know who you are. And even like saying those words out loud right now makes me emotional
Yeah.
because, man, I didn't know who I was. And it was like, as I said, the things coming out of my mouth as I was going through this death of my previous life, I know that it was so messy as it was coming out. And because I was living so outside of my authentic self, yeah, of course you didn't know who I was. But to hear those words from your dad, like, the first man that you ever love, it just felt like I've let him down.
Yeah.
He's disappointed in me. And how do I fix this? And ultimately, I came to a place of, that's not my job. and it is not my responsibility to make him comfortable. And, that was over a year ago that he said those words. And I'm in a place now where, I have my own home now. My daughter and I share this space together. She's here with me half the time. And as a single mom, there are so many things that you don't realize you need to do to set up a home, like the logistics. And so my dad was just here with me last night, helping me build my daughter's bed
Ah,
frame, because we're still like, this is fresh. This is fresh. Like
yes.
I've been in this home for less than 2 months, and
Wow.
he's
Wow.
just been such a huge, just supportive
Yay.
light for me through all of this. So even, I share that story because it's hard. It is so hard. And to break through that cycle,
Mhm.
this like staying together for the kids and burying your own needs, not speaking up, like this goes deep in my family. There's generational stuff there between the women in my family of just doing the things that you think you should be doing. And so to step out of line, to do the thing that is super uncomfortable, to do the thing that's like can be off-putting for people. It's like, oh, like what's
Yeah.
Diera doing now? That's challenging. That's tough. But to be in the place I'm in now where I have that connection with my dad again, and to just see, the look in his eyes, and I know that he's so proud of
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
him.
ask. I was like, he sounds like a proud dad. I
Yeah.
love it. I love that. And that's inspiring. And it inspires me too, because I have like my own thing with my dad. I adore him. He's the best. And so much of where I am is because of him. But I know that there's certain things that in my mind, I gotta be a certain way, when I take lapses even from drinking, I'm like, oh, I'm taking a month off, 2 months off of alcohol. What? Like even
Mm,
that, like in the Spanish culture, is like, wait a
yeah.
second, what? I don't
Yeah.
like people that don't drink. Like that he literally,
Mhm.
so I can imagine that when he said that your dad said that comment to you, I was like, my hair just stood up, my heart, I felt it. I can imagine how that could be really hard. But I love that you like really felt called to honor that feeling in you. And I feel like that led you to, like, I think it sounds like alignment. And I'm so about alignment. Like,
Mm,
and you guys listening right now, this. It's like so many times women are saying, I want my happily ever after, right? They want to find that vision that they had when they're a little kid, and they see Will and I and like, oh my God, you're so lucky. I'm like, hell to the no. I don't think it's luck. And so many of my actions that I was doing was not ever going to lead me down the path to my happily ever after. I
yeah.
really had to take steps towards it and really be fearlessly authentic and
Yeah.
repel all the wrong guys
Yeah.
and be and you know what, if it's risking being alone forever, then screw it. But I
Yeah.
wasn't going to waste time on the wrong guys anymore. I was like, you know
Yeah.
what, I am worthy of an
Mm,
amazing healthy relationship that lights me up. And
yes.
I was going to walk away from a lot of like these relationships that I was settling for that were really
Mm,
dimming my freaking beautiful light. I was like, I'm done
yes.
with that. So like
Yeah.
this message, like, let me ask you, wait a second. How's your dating life? Like, are you dating? Yes.
I knew you were gonna go there. Let's do it. Let's go there. Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that point, I promise. This idea of happily ever after, I grew up the Disney princess era. The like Prince Charming is going to come and rescue you, save you, and you're gonna walk down the aisle in this beautiful white dress. And let me say, I had all of those things. On the exterior, I had the Vera Wang dress. I got married here in Hawaii. I had this like beautiful event, and everything looked perfect. Everything looked happily ever after, especially once I had my daughter. On the outside, and especially on social media, we project this version of ourselves that we want other people to see. and we hide all of the deep, dark, true thoughts that are too ugly or messy to share because we want everyone to think that we've got it all figured out. And the truth is, most of us don't. And so that idea of happily ever after, yes, it like absolutely is possible. But when that is your end goal, and you're abandoning yourself along the way just because you want the white dress, you want the kids, you want to get married because society tells you that's what happily ever after
Right,
is.
right,
That
exactly.
is the wrong path.
Yeah, that's
And
super
exactly,
not. No, and I want to be clear. That's super not the happily ever after that I'm talking about. Because
yeah,
that's the bullshit that we are like seeing and thinking when pressured. Oh my gosh, we have to fit that mold. It's really about being yourself, like loving yourself and being authentic.
yeah.
And like actually, I feel like so many times we don't really see how valuable and worthy we are, and we'll just like take anything we can get,
Yes.
and it's like, oh my God, but it's so hard out there and we're scared, and that scarcity mindset and all that shit.
Yes.
And we're like, oh, I guess this, he likes me, I guess I'm just gonna do this. and
Yeah.
and this is so not about that. And I really am about like empowering the women that are listening right now, knowing, hey, wait a second, you are empowered and honored. Wait, where you're at, this isn't filling you up. This isn't lighting you up. This isn't like the relationship that really is right for you, and you walked away from it. But do you believe it's possible that there is a person there that would light you up, and someone that will see you for all that you are, authentic, beautiful self, and all the mess and everything, all,
Yes.
and say, I am there. Like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
where have you been my whole life? And this is who I am. And I've been waiting for you. Like,
Yes.
this is what I believe is here waiting for you, Diera. And so I just want to know
Yes.
where your heart's at. You're like, Jackie's too
Yeah.
soon for that shit.
No, 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 it's not. Yeah, I love what you said. I just want to echo all of that. Happily ever after has to start here. It has to start with you first. You have to believe to your core that you are deserving, that you are worthy, that you are enough exactly as you are. As you said, in all of your mess, in all of like the ugliness, in all of the uncertainty, and all of the questioning, in all of it. And you don't have to mold yourself and settle just because you're receiving crumbs.
Exactly.
That's not happily ever after.
Yeah.
So
I
to
just
get
wanted
to
to
your
say, like, I know, but I did
yeah.
want to say something. Your energy is, which I love, is exactly the energy where I was at when I met Will. I was
Mm,
not looking for Will at all. I was so self-fulfilled. I didn't
mm,
need a man.
yes.
And that is when but I finally realized my worth, and I was saying bye-bye, bye-bye to the guys that did not at
Yeah.
all were not aligned to my core of like what I wanted in a partner. They're not worth my time. So it's bye bye. That's it. And it was perfect.
Yeah.
I was so happy single. And there
Yes.
comes in Will. And I had this space to receive. I feel
Mm,
like it's really not about looking. Are you looking for somebody? It's not that. I feel it's like the energy of you've
mm,
done the work. You feel like you're, valuing yourself. You see yourself. You're proud of yourself.
mm,
And all these things. Do you have space to receive? Or you're like,
yes.
no, I just, where
Yes.
are you at?
Yes. Yeah, your heart has to be open, and it doesn't have to be like open to any man, just open to life, because love and beauty and connection is everywhere. And when you come from that energy, as you said, the doors open and you become this magnet for the right people and the right things to come your way. And let me say, I was not looking, not at all. I actually have been, something that I learned about myself is I really attached my self-worth to being in relationship. I had been in a relationship since I was 15, back to back, and really never took the time to be alone because I thought in order to be loved, I have to be validated by a man. And if I'm alone, that means I'm not loved. So I really felt like, okay, this is an opportunity for me right now, like to spend some time alone and
Yes.
to spend more time with my daughter and to just enjoy life without feeling like I need to perform or look a certain way or behave a certain way and just be me. And in that, I met the most amazing person I could ever imagine would be out there for me. And I mean, I could cry just talking about it. And and the beautiful part of it is I'm still physically alone, which I've needed. I need to be in this place of healing, of spending time with myself, of I know that this is a little corny, but like dating myself, really
Yeah.
creating little romantic moments. I mean, I enjoy just making coffee in the morning by myself because
Yeah.
it's those like little moments that I never really got alone. And so I'm celebrating all of that. And also, yes, I have met an amazing, amazing person. And he lives in Australia. So there is like
Awesome.
distance there,
Okay.
which is important for me. And we're building this foundation in
Okay.
our relationship through communication, through and a ton of shit is coming to the surface. All of my triggers, all of his triggers.
Yes.
And because we don't have that physical aspect right now in this
Okay.
moment, we are forced to work through it, to talk
Yeah.
through it, to move through those um, hard moments in a way that I never had in the past, where I would have just avoided or I would have used like physical intimacy as a way to
Yes.
connect. But because
Exactly.
that's removed, we are forced to talk through it and work
Yes.
through it that way. So,
So
yes. And
wait,
also,
question.
yes.
I have questions. Wait. So have you ever met physically? Were you ever together physically?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay. But
Yeah.
he's real. He exists.
He's real. He's 100% real. Yeah.
Just joking.
I know. I know that that sounds terrifying. I
No,
know.
no, no, no. And how long have you guys been like, are you guys officially together,
Super
exclusive?
fresh. Yeah, yes, we are. We're very we've made that commitment to each other and
Good.
it's super fresh. I mean, like I said, my ex and I have been separated for since the beginning of this year, but physically I didn't move out of our home until 2 months ago. So this
Wow.
relationship is really fresh and it started as a friendship and just evolved through like that connection of kind of growing together and
Yeah.
realizing that like wow, you actually are the person I've been looking for all along because you not only see me but you accept me in all of my
Yes.
mess. Like he's been
Yes.
here helping me through this really hard time in this hard
Mm.
season and I've been grieving. And so
Yeah.
to be at some of your lowest moments and to have somebody that sees you in that and not only sees you, but is there with you and is just basically says like, I choose you. I'm
Yes.
choosing you no matter how hard it gets, no matter how messy it gets.
Mm.
I'm not going anywhere.
I love that.
And yeah, that's been such
I
a
love that. I love that. And I'm really happy for you and I'm excited for you. I feel like I something that you said that's so freaking like I want you guys to listen to that. I'm all about the emotional connection. And I am so like I always see people and I used to do this all the time like totally guilty like leading with physical and being
yeah,
like well let me I can keep him, I can get him to love me if I have sex with him, if I hook up
yeah,
with him and do all the things and that's bullshit. Like at the end of the
yeah,
day what I ended realizing is that I always felt less than. I felt like what am I I? Like, who am I lost a piece of myself. And so
Yeah.
you guys are forced to not even, you're not physical. Perfect. We take the physical out of the equation. Because I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, put the brakes on the physical. I actually have rules. Like, I seriously am very strict with it.
Mm,
And we're wired to, play the game, keep him, and do the
mm,
things. And when I took sex off the table with Will, it's like, yeah, that's not part of this. It's not. And he was, there 100%. Like, all
yeah.
he got was a kiss and that's it. Like, bye bye, like, and no more. And it was the best part of our dating, like, chapter. And
Yeah.
really getting to know each other on a deep emotional level. See if you're truly aligned and be
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, yes, I want to do life with you. And then
Yeah.
you throw sex in and it's hell yeah. Like, I'm a fan, guys.
Yes. Yes, you definitely need to have sex. We're not saying that here.
Yeah, we're so pro sex. But before you throw sex in, I'm always like this with my, like, the women here in this community. I'm always like, listen, I'm like a fan of vibrators, 100%. Or like, have fun by yourself, love yourself,
Yeah.
perfect. But
Yeah.
don't be like so like, oh my God, I need to have sex. I need to, no, like, take care of your own
Yeah.
business. And then you connect
Totally.
emotionally with
Yeah.
him. I love
Yes.
it.
Yeah. It is such a powerful to be able to like build that connection with yourself in a pleasure sense. That has been so huge for me because I was always giving that power away to somebody else.
Mm.
And especially as women, we are so conditioned to believe that, through our culture, through the media, that show off your body, use your body to lure in men and use that as a way to connect. And while yes, absolutely there is truth in that, there you can build a very deep connection through intimacy, but it has to be deeper than that. Otherwise, it's not real. It's so surface.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and once that because over time that's going to fade, in a
Yeah.
relationship when you're long term with somebody, it's going to go up and down, especially once you bring kids into the mix. And there
Yeah.
has to be that deep, deep
Yes.
connection. And intimacy doesn't have to mean a physical sense.
Yes. Yeah.
Intimacy can be so much more and so much deeper than that.
I love it. Oh my God. You see this, you guys, and you don't understand. I met Diera and I was like, I heard your podcast, Mama Fire, for any of you guys listening to her. You're like, I love her. Yes. And I love her too. And you really need to hear her podcast. And follow her on Instagram.
Mm.
It's Diera Story. I
Yes.
have like loved this. I just feel
Mm.
like you and me are so aligned. I'm like, hello, we need to be like best friends. I'm like, what are we
Yes.
doing? You live in Hawaii. I live in the Canary Islands. We're like
Oh.
both like island girls. We're like,
Mm.
but I really am so happy that, like, your message, I'm
Mm.
so aligned to it. I'm really aligned to it. And I feel like the women here listening, it's
Mm.
gonna resonate. It's gonna resonate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna
Yeah.
impact them.
Yeah, I would just say for anyone that, maybe you're not getting a divorce, but maybe you are going through a breakup and you're gripping tight, you don't want to let go, you don't want to release. And the biggest lesson for me has been fully surrendering to my own life and to that like quiet little intuitive whisper in my mind that kept saying, there is more. There is more for you. And the end of a long-term relationship, the end of a marriage, that doesn't mean failure. I look at my marriage, my ex and I are best friends. He is a phenomenal man. He is the most amazing father that I could have ever dreamed up. And I don't look at it as a failure. I look at it as some of the most beautiful years of my life, if not the most beautiful years of my life. And that chapter, that door has closed and it's opened up so many other doors for the rest of my life to just unfold in this beautiful way because I chose to surrender and I chose to lean in, even though it felt scary and impossible and the unknown was so overwhelming at moments. But just know that it doesn't mean an ending, doesn't mean a failure. That really means a beginning for you, a beginning if you have kids, a beginning for your family. And just to trust in that, to
Yeah.
trust that this is what is right for you. That is the most powerful thing you can do for yourself.
And you know what? I really feel like it's so much about, like Abraham Hicks, there's a quote, it's all about alignment. It's not about timing, it's about alignment. And
Mm,
you getting out, like you and your relationship and realizing, wait a second, this isn't, you're going to honor what you're really feeling and this isn't right for you. I feel like so many people are feeling that way, right? And sometimes they get out of it and they meet something amazing after they've healed, they've done the work, but they're like, wait a second, it's too soon. There's like a timer, like, wait a second, this isn't right. Can you speak
yeah.
to that? Like, what are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, yeah. I felt a lot of that because there is such a stigma around moving on too fast. There's like this unspoken grieving period where you're supposed to be single for an extended period of time, which also, like, who created that? And because I'm in this, energy of, I'm choosing myself and I don't need to fit into another person's box because that makes them feel comfortable.
Right.
It's okay if it's a little bit shocking for some people that I have moved on. But the truth is, my ex and I had been, even though we were like physically living under the same roof, we had been checked out of our marriage for a long time. And I had done so much of that inner work and that healing on myself. So when I did actually physically move out, it was like the doors were opening because I was ready to receive all of that. As you know, as you said, when you're open to receive, the doors really do start to open. And so, yeah, I would just say, if anybody is feeling into that pressure of, I need to be single for a certain amount of time, while there can be a lot of value in that, in sitting with yourself and spending time alone, you don't have to go down that path.
Yeah.
This is our one and only life we get. And if you do the work on yourself and you are ready and you're open, and that doesn't mean like, I need to go find a man. It's not that energy. It is sitting so confidently in who you are and what you believe, and knowing your worth and knowing your truth, that it's amazing how quickly sometimes the right things can come your way.
100,000,000%. I always stand by this. And in this community, I hear this a lot. It feels like magic. It was like, wait a second, how is it possible? But it really is possible if you've done the work, if you really have done the inner work, you have really dug in deep and,
Mm,
brought things that are scary to the surface and honored that. And I feel like that's why, oh my gosh, and I'm so happy for you, because it's like you've gotten out of something, ended a chapter, and you're like, thank you, and like so grateful. And I love that gratitude. It's
mm,
like, you're not doing the whole like victim, like, oh my God, it's all a disaster. It was so much gratitude in your message.
mm.
And I'm so much about like, I thank all my exes. I'm like, thank you for all
Yeah.
the things that I have learned. And oh my gosh, yes. But I feel like something that I do want to make sure that the women are hearing, it's like sometimes you don't take time to heal, and they will go from one relationship to the next and nothing has changed, nothing, they haven't learned anything, and they get stuck in a pattern. I don't know if you've ever
Yeah.
experienced that in the past. I know I've been in
Yeah.
a ton of unhealthy toxic patterns. So like
Yes.
I feel like the key thing that I just want to make sure you all heard is that Diera is like, oh my gosh, finding this new chapter, finding love soon after her divorce. But notice how much work she's done to get
Mm.
there. And that's powerful. Held to
Yeah.
the yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I love what you said, because those unconscious patterns and cycles that keep coming up and playing out again and again in every single relationship, they are never going to end until you bring the unconscious to the conscious, until you sit with yourself, until you take ownership and responsibility. It's not like blame of he did this to me and I'm the victim. It is that radical ownership in how did I show up? How did I create this environment in my relationship? And what do I want to create moving forward? What kind of relationship do I want to have? And the only way to do that is to really raise the awareness around what are those repetitive cycles and patterns that I keep bringing to the table, because we all have them. And in order to break that cycle and to really find that relationship that you crave so deeply and that you know is possible and is out there for all of us, you have to sit with those uncomfortable feelings and thoughts and be okay taking ownership in them and knowing that it's not like you're not a bad person. We're not like awful people because we've allowed certain, cycles to keep coming up again and again. It's just like, yeah, having gratitude for them and just saying like, thank you, but that's in my past and I'm going to lay that one down. I'm ready to let that go.
100%. And then that is when magic happens, because when you really come to be aware, like, okay, wait a second, you're like, you gotta call yourself out. Like this is, this is what we do, because you're a coach. You're like, we're coaches, and we're like, sometimes we're in our own way and we don't even freaking realize it. Like, there's so many of us, and I know I was in my own way for years. Oh my gosh, I feel your energy, I feel your authenticity, and it's inspiring. It's inspiring. Like if I didn't love Will, I would have divorced him just by like hearing you. Like if I was in a toxic shit, I'd be like, bye, Will. But like I feel there's women listening to this and they are tolerating, or they're trying to convince themselves, and they're telling themselves a story of, let me just stay. This is what I should do for my kids, for my parents, for whatever. And hearing you, it's like, okay, this is bye-bye time. Like, I don't know, dear, if you follow that, but I always am about the bye-bye time. And I feel like the sooner you can say bye-bye to things, it's amazing the opportunities that come your way. And so I appreciate you so much. I really do. I appreciate you for you like being so open and vulnerable, because I'm all about that. And this is when all the good and your people will get attracted. And that's why I'm like, Diera, I got to have you on my podcast. I absolutely love your energy. Yeah.
Jackie, I love you so much.
One day I feel like our girls will do like this little podcast and interview Rebel and Juliana and Bella. How cute would that be? Like
full circle right there. I love that so much. Yes.
It's adorable. I'm like envisioning. It's like vision boards. Thank you, Diera, for being here so much. I so appreciate you. You guys remember, you can follow her on Instagram. It's Diera Story. And I'll also put a link below. And her podcast, Mama Fire. Thank you, Diera.
Thank you, Jackie.